All right, back again with another super exciting tutorial. This one is animating text, like sort of a typography style, as we're seeing here. This is, something that sometimes people call for, sometimes can be useful, and just can be really easy and fast if you use some of the tools that After Effects gives you. So I'm going to show you some of the basics of just a real quick typography style video. You can use this, hopefully it gives you some ideas, some inspiration. That's really what this is meant to be, is a inspirational video. So let's get started with a new composition, and let's just create a new solid for the background. That's fine. We could always put a gradient on this and make it a little better than a simple clean background. Maybe it's sort of a light blue. It's like, it looks like a sky right there, but we'll make it a radial ramp, and in fact we'll do that, and now we'll make it white in the center and blue on the outside, and let's stretch this out a little bit so we've got just more than a basic flat background. Go to your text tool or hit T, and pick a good font that is, I don't know, that works for you, that you like. I like, for these kind of videos, I think blocky fonts work really well, but sometimes you might want to try something different. I used all the same font in that sample there, and I just duplicated that layer. Animating text, what did I say in that? Animating text can be fun, and let's say can be fun. So I'm gonna have, this is one word, this is one word, this is one word, so 3 layers so far, and we'll say let's change it up, but, and another layer. It also takes time. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. So here's what I do when I'm creating one of these. I create my text layers, and then I kind of play with the layout and see how I want this to lay out. We'll put these over here, and right now I just have the select tool, and I'm just looking to see what I like. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I get a wider view. Yeah, let's go back and fit that back into the screen there. And I think I'm going to make this one really large. Sometimes it's fun to make text sort of blocky and line up like that, so the words are different sizes, but they kind of make squares. You know what I mean? Animating text can be fun. Right now in this one, I'm going to line this up and then work backwards for the animation here. So this one I had sort of on the side, so I'll hit R and I open up the rotation, and you can just drag this to have it rotate, and see it rotates on this anchor point here. What I'm going to do is, before I rotate that, actually I'll hit Y, and that's the anchor point mover tool. And we'll put this in the center, hold down Control so it goes and locks right into the center point. That constrains it to the center. I could also constrain it to the edge, but I'm going to go right to the center here. So now when I move my rotation, it turns on that anchor point, and that's what I want. Now I'm going to go back to negative 90 degrees. Hard to get exactly in there. I did it that time, but sometimes just easier to just click this and type negative 90. And if you know stuff about math, you know that 90 degrees will go that way. A positive 90 will have it run that way. We're going to go negative 90 degrees. All right, almost kind of lines up pretty well there with the other text, making this block that I had discussed earlier. But let's see, but also takes time. Let's make that two lines. So now you notice it stretched that out here. That's a text editing. I'm going to select the whole thing, hit Control A, and this is the leading, is that how you say that? It's the line spacing is what I call it. So you can always put this on auto and it'll automatically do it for you, but sometimes something like this, I want it a little tighter. And let's see, this one doesn't really fit into our puzzle, so let's left align that one. Let's shrink it down a little bit. Almost there. Yeah, that's probably going to be what it is, like that. Maybe shrink this down, go back to my selection tool. So really all I'm doing is just lining this up. You know, I could work on this all day long. So I've got a basic layout where they're sort of fun. This is how it's going to come together, right? It's going to start and end like this. So one thing I like to do is I could select all these layers and then move them. Sure, that's easy, but what I want to do is create a null object. Layer, new, null object. A null object is just an empty, soulless layer that does nothing unless you attach stuff to it. So I'm going to select all these layers, and this is my parent twirly. You drag the twirly over to the null object just like that, and now my null object controls all those layers. So this is what the reason I do that is so I can select and control all of these as a group. I can hit S and I can scale them all up as a group, but I still have the ability to move the individual layers, so I could put animation on those or on the whole group. So that's really why I use that. There's a lot of reasons to use null objects. That's one. So like I said, we're going to work backwards here. Let's trim this comp down to maybe about 10 seconds. Right click, trim comp to work area. And I'm going to take these layers and I'm going to select everything except the first one, and I'm going to drag them out of the way, right? So we'll start with animating. And now here's where we're going to just get into all the animation. Everything is going to be keyframed here. And I want to figure out how to animate each one of these steps in, right? This one, I think maybe I'll animate the letters. This, I'll have it kind of pop in and do something fun here. Sometimes it's helpful to plan things out beforehand. But if you're the kind of person that just likes to say, screw it and start going, then, you know, that's one way to do things also. I'm a mix of both. So let's start with this first layer, and I'm going to hit P to open up position, and I'm going to keyframe it. So it's going to land here, and I'm going to back it up, and we'll put this closer to the center. We'll turn on our title, and we see the center is right there. So if I watch this keyframed animation, it'll move right there. Great. Let's also animate the size of this. So I'll hit S on that layer, keyframe that. Then I'm going to hit U. That opens up all the keyframes that I have so far. And I'm going to drag this to right that same point. If I hold down Shift, it kind of, same thing, it locks it in, right? I like to keep everything locked in nice and even. So that is going to land right there at that size. But if I go backwards, I'm going to have this larger. So now it'll do that. Maybe it'll be a little quicker. It'll do that. So let's have it animate in, and then it'll slide into that position, ready for placement with everything else. All right, great. Let's have this animate in. Here's a really simple, this is one of my favorite things in After Effects, is we've got all these presets that come built into After Effects. There's, if you open up animation presets, go to presets, and you go down to text, you twirl this open, and you'll see a lot of these animation presets that After Effects has put in here for you. You can animate in, look at all these, great stuff. And all I need to do is just double click one of these, and it applies it, and look at that. Oh, how fun. It just creates a fade. All right, undo, because I don't like that. Look at some other ones here. This is a fun one. The characters shuffle in, so they kind of, oh, they all just walk in like that. If that's something you want, great. Not today. Undo that. What I'm going to use is one that I use quite a bit here. It's the typewriter preset. Double click this, and what it does is it really just creates an effect preset right here using the properties built into After Effects. And so if I open up text, if I hit U, I'll see that it's created keyframes for me right here. So I can adjust those keyframes. So right now it types, but it moves. That's just terrible. So let's put the end of the animation. That's the start and end point here. So it's going to type in and move. That happens a little too fast. So I'm going to move my motion keyframes up a little bit. And then let's see, it types in, slides back. Okay, that's pretty quick. Let's smooth it out a little bit. I'll make it type in a little slower. Type, type, type. slide down. Here's a trick that I like to use a lot, is I select these and I hit F9 on a PC. I'm not sure what it is on Mac, but what that does is that eases the motion. It's called Easy Ease. It just eases the motion a little bit. We'll drag that out, make it a little slower, and type, move. And I like this to be quick. You can put whatever speed, or you develop your own style, but this just happens real quick, and then I want the next thing to come in. So I'm going to drag the rest of these layers out of the way. The next one is the one that says text here. So it's going to say animating text. All right, a little too slow. Animating text. Now text could just pop on, or let's have this one pop in. If I move the center point, the anchor point here, and then hit S, I can just have this kind of scale up from nothing, but I actually want the anchor point back down there. So I'll hold down Control, put it back where it was, and let's keyframe the scale so that it stops right there. But now, see this little guy here? This constrains the scale so that height and width are the same. We're going to unconstrain those so that I can individually adjust the height, undo, or I can adjust the width, right? Separates those. Great. The reason I do that is because I'm going to put the height down to 0. So now this will kind of grow in from the bottom like that. That's a little bit different. Type, grow. That's a little slow. Let's make it happen a little faster. Grow. Yeah, great. Animating text. You know what you can do? If you want it to bounce, you can make it even more fun. So it ends at 100. Let's zoom in, plus, plus, plus. We'll zoom in a little bit and we'll move the work area back. And instead of landing at 100, we're going to move this out of the way and we're going to have it land at maybe 100 and, 108. And so what will happen is this will go from 0 to 108 and then down to 100. And it kind of has a basic bounce. Now you can play with this a little bit to make it look a little bit more realistic. And you could also ease one or two of the keyframes. That's not bad. You could undo that. You could really make it bounce and have it go to 108, and then maybe it gets small again, and then it goes to like 105, right? Then it goes to 100. That way it's like kind of bouncy. Boing. See that? Yeah, let's just leave that, and we'll say that we like that. Great. So animating text, a bouncy text. Okay, I'm going to drag this out or hit minus so that I can zoom back out on my timeline. The next one I'm going to bring in here, hit the selection tool, can be fun. All right, so this one, I actually want it to start laying down and then move this way. So let's twirl this down, open up transform, and I could do position, scale, rotation. Let's do all three of them. We'll keyframe them. This is where it's going to land, so we'll drag it out. Again, I'm working backwards here. So it's going to start, instead of -90, we'll put 0. So it'll start there. And then it's going to start maybe at this position. And maybe the scale is a little bit bigger, right? So when it comes in, it's going to twirl up like that. That's okay, you know? I actually think I would prefer if it twirled and the anchor point was right there. So I'm going to move it forward to where it ends. I'm going to take these and delete them, back up a little bit, and actually start here. Now I can move this anchor point now while it's still here, and I'm going to put this down in the corner. So now when I rotate down to 0, and then I adjust, hit V, go to my selection tool. Now it'll kind of flip up. That's kind of an interesting flip, right? Flips like that. Maybe we don't adjust the scale. I'm going to hit F9 for all these keyframes, and it just smooths it a little bit. Maybe it's a little slower. But here's what's going to happen. I'm going to push this forward in time, drag the beginning of the layer here, because I want it to animate in. So we're going to use that typewriter preset again. So I could just go up here and hit typewriter. double click and it drops those keyframes right on here. Hit U so that all my keyframes are open. So it's gonna type, can be fun, but instead of having it type the letters, what I want to do is I want to have it kind of, maybe I want it to pop in word for word. So that's where we're going to open up the advanced settings here under Range Selector, Advanced, and you have the units, and then they're based on characters right now. I'm going to change that to words. So now what it does is it pops in the words, and it goes pop, 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 and then it twirls. Great. I still don't love that twirl, but you know, I'm not going to tweak with it. Tweak it now. All right, let's back it up to the beginning. Watch what we have. Animating text can be fun. Twirl. Then we got to add in our next but. This one, maybe, we'll see, hit U on this last one. It starts right where this one ends. Let's have this one slide in. So we'll hit P. This is a simple one. Keyframe that position. Go to the beginning. And then slide this out. Now, if I hold down Shift, it keeps it straight. So it slides in a straight line and slides in. Again, if I keyframe this ending point, it'll slide in a little smoother. Okay, animating text can be fun, but let's make this a little bigger. So that's great so far. It also takes time. Let's do something different with this. Let's use another one of these text. I mean, you could go crazy with all these. Explore, play with some of these and see what you like. But I'm going to use one that's called Scale Up Word. Double click, and this is hit U to open up. You got to select the layer, and we'll move the keyframes. Now watch what it does. It also takes time. Look at that. A little too slow. Let's make it a little faster. Yep. That's simple. See, some of these things are just great, simple presets that save you some time. Anything that saves you time, saves you money, gets you working a lot quicker. So select all, close everything. We've got this animation. Before I play this again, I'm going to turn on motion blur, and I'm going to turn it on for all the layers. So now we have a little bit of a blur happening in the motion. It just looks a little bit tighter. All right, but it also takes time. So that's pretty great. Looks good. I also had another animation in here, if I recall, where all this stuff slides out. That's another reason I take that null, is because I can hit the position for the null and I can keyframe that, turn on the stopwatch, and move up a little bit and slide this right out of the frame. And there we go. Now let's watch. Animating text. Slides right out, allowing us to add in another word. I think I had something like good luck in there. This was great. So let's just scale that up a little bit. Go to the selection tool. We'll put that pretty much right in the center. And here's a trick. If you hit this little bracket on the keyboard here, it'll just move the start point of your layer. I use that one a lot. Good hot key to know. Let's hit P for this. Turn on the position, and we'll move that back a little bit. Same thing. We're going to move this right here so that slides in. And if we line it up, we slide it back a little bit more, it'll slide in almost like it's knocking that out of there. See how simple this is? Really great stuff. Very simple. You can animate this stuff and go crazy. You can change the fonts. You can, adjust the colors too, so that you've got, a little bit of a different vibe going on here. We'll select that. Maybe we'll make it a little bit darker. And, there's lots of fun to be had by animating text. It can be fun, but it takes time. This was great. All right. Have a good day.